So good day everyone, I'm Sergio Bahao, the first reporter of this topic entitled Philippine History, Species for Conflict and Controversies. So we already know some important details about the background of our country, in which our country are truly experienced many conflicts or controversies. And this time we will learn its consequences on how it comes on that way. So we have here our introduction, Making Sense of the Past, Historical Interpretation. History is the study of the past, but a more contemporary definition as centered on how it impacts the present, through its consequences. So that is the historical interpretation of making sense of the past. So Geoffrey Barraclough defined history as the attempt to discover on the basis fragmentary evidence that significant things about the past. So of course, on defining history, we need a detailed information that could capture the real views of the past, just like of what Geoffrey Barraclough history definition. He also notes the history we read through the based on facts is strictly not factual at all, but a series of accepted judgment. Next, we have the Code of Kalantiaw. The Code of Kalantiaw, mythical legal code in the effect of Maragtas. By the way, the Code of Kalantiaw, before it was revealed as a hoax, it was a source of pride for the people of Aklan. In fact, a historical marker was installed in the town of Bataan and Aklan in 1956 with the following text. So we have here the text of the Code of Kalantiaw. Dato Bindahara Kalantiaw, the third chief of Panay, born in Aklan, established his government in the peninsula of Batang. Aklan Sakop, considered the first Filipino law-giver. He promulgated about 1433, a penal code now known as the Code of Kalantiaw, containing 18 articles. Don Marcelino Aurelia or Fela of Zaragoza, Spain, obtained the original manuscript from an old chief of Panay and was later translated into Spanish by Rafael Morviedo y Zameni. This marker is erected upon the request of the Municipal Council of Batan, Aklan on 1 of June 1956. So that is the code text of Kalantiaw. Then next, we have William Henry Scott. William Henry Scott, a doctoral candidate at the University of Santo Tomas. He defended his research on free Hispanic source and the Philippine history. He also attributed to the Code of Historical Friction, written in 1913 by Jose E. Marco, entitled Las Antiguas Leyendas de la Isla de Negros. So this is William Henry Scott. Okay, also next, we have here Jose E. Marco, attributed the code itself to a priest named Jose Maria Pibon. So si Jose E. Marco, he was the prominent Filipino historian, did not descend to Scott finding, but there are still some who would like to believe that the code in a legitimate document. Then next, we have the historians. Historians, they utilizes the collection of facts from primary sources of history and draw their own reading and start exploring history. So if we will be one of the historians, of course, we should seek for the facts and gathering the primary source within the history and then look for some information that we think the detailed form. So let's move on to the interpretation of the past. The history is interpreting the past. It is Spain on the historian facts. Historian says that they believe the past and attempt to explain why and how things happen as they did and why particular elements in the past are important. So that is how important to learn about the past so that we could gather ideas or lessons about the past or the history on how is it happen or how is it possible to happen. So next, Sa Aking Kabata is a poem written by Jose Rizal when he was 8 and one of Rizal's most prominent work. So we know that Jose Rizal had written lots of poem, and Sa Aking Kabata, the poem which he had been written is one of the most popular or a prominent work he had. In this work, there is no evidence to support that this poem is now immortalized lines. So this poem is first published in 1906 in a book by Hermenegildo Cruz. Cruz received the poem from Gabriel Beato Francisco Huclim and received in 1904 from Rizal close friend Saturnino Russels. So Sa Aking Kabata, a poem which has been written by si Rizal. So this was published on the year 1906. So meaning right after his death. So the reason why is it because of our colonizer, which is the Spain. Because of those colonizer, the poem he had been written was published right after his death. Because as we all know, the colonizer of our country, which is the Spain, is very oppressive. Our country suffered a lot. And this is the reason why the poem of Jose Rizal about Sa Aking Kabata was published on the year 1906. So we have also here the famous lines that Jose Rizal written was about ang hindi magmahal sa sariling wika, mahigit pa sa malansang isda. This was the famous written of Jose Rizal, or a famous lines that was written by Jose Rizal. Next, Il Amor Patreo. Has Rizal first word encountered through Marcelo H. del Villar. The poem was written in Tagalog and referred to the word kalayaan. So, Il Amor Patreo, which means kalayaan, or a freedom, because our country need a freedom on that time. Rizal native language is Tagalog and educated in Spanish from his mother, Teodora Alonso. So we already know on the background of Jose Rizal when he was young that Teodora Alonso, or his mother, was his first teacher. Then next, we have here interpretation. So many of the things we accept as true about the past might not be the case anymore because these were taught as facts when we were younger. Does not mean that it is open for interpretation. So there might be conflicting and completing account of the past that need attention. Important subject to evaluate not only primary sources but also historical interpretation that reliable to support our acceptance of events of the past. So that would be the interpretation. Actually, this was just an introduction of this topic for the spaces for conflict and controversies. Right after this, we will learn about those consequences on the case study 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then next, we have here multiperspectivity. Multiperspective with several possibilities of interpreting the past. We have also the historical events, personalities, development, the culture, and society. And that was for the introduction.